Hey everybody, it's Dr. Scott Watson. As you know, on this channel I host a lot of Finale tutorials, and with the recent announcement that Finale would be sunsetting and that the program eventually will not exist, me, like many other people, are moving to a program called Dorico. In this video tonight, I'm going to be meeting with one of the many helpful people online who's helping us Finale diaspora, the people leaving Finale and going to Dorico, helping us to get acclimated to Dorico. Well, my friend and colleague, composer John Pasternak, agreed to just take my questions, and we put it in a long video. It's actually a question and answer with a lot of the key topics for us Finale users switching to Dorico. So John will answer my questions. He's been so gracious to meet with me the other night, and we're both posting these answers on our YouTube channel so that you can follow along. We'll put down in the description of this video, I'll have the topic so you can go right to the topic that's of interest to you. We were joined by Katie Labrie and Carl DeBozer, two composer friends. Anyway, I hope this dialogue between John and I is helpful as I work my way through Dorico. Hopefully you can learn along with me. Enjoy. My first question is about MIDI settings. When I downloaded Dorico and got it running, everything, including my sample library, Note Performer 4, everything worked automatically. And it made me like really happy, but it also made me a little uneasy because I knew how to get in under the hood of Finale and do all the MIDI settings and assign like what the playback engine was and et cetera, et cetera. So is there any, in your work with Dorico, is there any reason to do MIDI stuff, and where is that if you need to do it?
So here, let me just right now, we won't mess with anything here. We could talk about creating a score later. So
Yeah, that's part of my list of questions for you.
We'll go back and create a new one in a minute. So let's just use this default template so I can get into this. So if you notice here, Dorico is divided into these 5 categories: setup, write, play, engrave, and print. Dorico actually used to be a little less easily laid out. Now, if you notice, there's a write tab, a play tab up here already to begin with. It used to be that if you were in the setup tab, you could not access some of these settings being in whatever tab you are. And it's still kind of like that. If you see, I went to setup is now here, and write went away, that kind of thing. But the play one is always here. Now, in regards to Note Performer specifically, if you want to change the playback template, you go here. Oh, sorry, I should have not clicked on it. Go to playback template, and here's a list of all the sort of things you have. Like if you downloaded the Halion thing that comes default with Dorico, yeah, you can switch to any one of these here. Note Performers here, and if you want to enjoy silence, that's also an option as well. Iconica Sketch is also here. So you would click on, obviously, Note Performer, apply and close, and Note Performer is selected. Now, you may say, John, but okay, so that selects it for this project. This project is now set for Note Performer. So your next question may be, John, what if I want all my projects to be set for Note Performer? You would come here down here to Device Setup. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I lied to you. You would go to Preferences. Now under the Play option here, now you go here to Default Playback Template, and you would select Note Performer. Now all your projects are now set to be Note Performer.
All right, and a follow-up question to that would be, in my former life as a Finale user, I would sometimes have most of my staves in a score played by Note Performer, but there might be a couple of percussion staves that are played back by, or even just parts of a percussion staff. Sometimes like just certain instruments be played back by different sample libraries. Is it possible to assign by staff or by instrument?
To be honest with you, I've never really got that far in depth into this. Here into the, now I will tell you, I do use, I bought, we have someone else that wants to join us.
All right.
Katie Labrie wants to join us.
Katie Labrie, great.
We'll let her in. One thing that I use is I bought a whole bunch of extra VST libraries. Hi, Katie. Thanks for joining us. I bought some of those extra note, the ones that are compatible with Note Performer, such as the BBCSO. I'm sorry, BBCSO, the BBC Symphony Orchestra Extra Library, and the Spitfire Symphony Orchestra Library. Through the Note Performer plugin, I have been able to change the sounds.
Just since Note Performer 4, I think, is now that's possible. Okay.
So I have done it that way. Here, there's an option. I've never messed with this. Enable independent voice playback. Let's see what happens here. And nothing seems to be
okay. And if it's not something that comes real easy, I have a lot more meat and potatoes questions. That's sort of like a,
Yeah, no, I've never messed with that, to be entirely honest. And I know what you're saying. Like, Note Performer doesn't have great marching band instruments. I've never had to deal with that, to be entirely honest with you. I would just export it to another program for that. I'm going to guess that there are options. I don't have the answer for it.
Okay.
I apologize.
All right. Before we leave MIDI settings, and my next question is about workflow. Carl or Katie, or does anybody want to ask something about that topic? Okay.
No, just taking it in.
Sounds good.
That's great. All right. So the next question I had for you was about what's your overall workflow like when you start a project to finishing it? Like, for instance, say I was telling somebody this about Finale and doing a lead sheet. I'd talk about using the wizard windows and then getting a shell of a score, dumping in the notes, then adding all the expressions and articulations, and then blah, blah, blah. So, like, what's the workflow when you're doing let's say it's a band piece. What's your workflow from beginning to end, if you could describe that?
Okay. Well, here, I'll tell you what. I'll actually walk you through it here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and go back to that go back to what the startup screen there real quick. Give me a second to get there. Discard that. Excellent. All right. I'll share it with you here. Okay. Here. Entire screen. Here. So let's start an empty project and let's go from the start here. So obviously, the start of my workflow is I'm going to want to know what ensemble I'm writing for. Am I going to write for concert band, string orchestra? I've actually, the way I started in Dorico is I do a lot of film work in it. And to me, it's scoring to picture is phenomenal and way better than any of the other programs. Sibelius, Finale, MuseScore don't come close to its ability to score to picture. But I'm sure that's not what you guys are interested in. So here we'll name this Scott's Adventure.
All right.
And we'll call this the Fun Bunch will be the composer here. Now we'll make this concert size because we all know we love our concert size here. Let's say for this one, someone wants to join. He went away. Joseph Hall wanted to join us, and then he apparently didn't.
Oh.
Let's say this project is. Oh, he wants to join us again. We'll let him in. Let's say this project is multiple movements. This is something that Dorico, for sure, to me, does differently than all the other competition. Multiple flows you have to think of as movements.
Right.
So if you're writing a symphony, you're writing a suite, you're writing a film, this allows you to put all those projects under one umbrella and be organized together. So we'll say for this one, I'm writing a symphony. Let's call it that. Here, your music font, you need to determine what you're going to do here. I prefer Finale Maestro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can use Bravura. It's
that's the default.
Yeah, that's the default. To me, nothing is as clean as that Finale Maestro, in my opinion.
I like that one too.
We'll use Academico. I think that's kind of like New Century School Book. It's a pretty clean font. It's a very textbook, if you will, font. Then you don't need to know these things down here at the bottom: time signature, bars, key signature. You can pick the starting staff size. This doesn't lock you in. It's up to you. If you want to guess now, 28 is a pretty good size, but we'll leave it there. We can always edit it later. No big deal for now. So we'll create our project. And we're in. Now we need to determine what kind of players we want. I always default to single players. You can do section players. The way that you always want to look at this is like, especially this is going to affect your MIDI for the most part. Is it going to be one player on a part with the sound, or like a solo player, or is it going to be a group player or a section? So like if you're writing for strings, if you go with a single player, it's going to go to the solo violin. If you go here to the section players, it's going to do like the violin section MIDI. If you go to add ensembles, this is going to kind of give you your like if you want like a saxophone ensemble, or if you want
Are those like
clarinet
templates?
ensemble. Yeah, they're kind of like preloaded things. Here, I'll click on them here. So here, let's do this saxophone quartet. So these are instruments just right here off the bat. You can add all of them.
So would it do concert band or symphonic band or things like that?
Let's try it. I don't think they're here. Oops, I can't spell concert. Nope.
Okay.
Let's just see band if that shows up. Yeah, no, nothing.
Okay.
So it's a small ensemble kind of deals.
Okay.
And here, so build is like you can kind of pick and make your own. Choose is what's already here.
So when you're starting a band piece, do you start with individual players?
I do. I would go with individual players. And this is also some things that Dorico does revolutionary. If I remember correctly, Shift P. Yeah. Shift P gives you your dialogue. So here, if we go flute. Now you can either go and type it again, or you can right click and duplicate it. And you'll see that it's now automatically made it flute 1 and 2. The way Dorico works, and so here, this is skipping ahead a little bit, but if we go to rename one of these, you'll actually see that they're labeled as flute. They are not labeled as flute 1 and 2. Dorico actually looks and says, that's the same as this. The first one is flute 1, the second one is flute 2. So you don't actually need to label it that way, if that makes sense. So then I'll hit Shift P again. That gives me my dialogue. I'll type in oboe. And then I just do that.
So you build your whole band each time?
No, I actually have templates that I already have made.
There you go.
So to answer your question, because what you're going to see as we go through this, there are all sorts of options that you're not going to want to set every single time. You're going to want those options set and then edit based on those settings already. Like edit your instrumentation based on those settings.
Right.
So I'm sure Katie can relate to this. You almost want to make like your house settings or your house style and then go for it. Katie, do I have to let you speak or can you hang on?
No, I just had a question.
Go ahead.
So when I think templates in Finale,
Yeah.
If I want to start a new project from a template, I go up and I just say which template I want, and it opens up an untitled project in that template. From what I'm hearing from other people, maybe it's different here. Like literally, I just have to copy and paste the file.
Yes, you make like a save file. You make a save file. You would save this as concert band grade 1 as a save file, and then when you open it, you would go to save as whatever you want to name this particular project.
Thank you for clarifying.
Not a problem. Not a problem. And please, if any of you have any questions, or if I'm unclear, or if I start rambling and things don't make sense, stop me and tell me.
Well, you tell me if this is slowing your flow down.
Sure.
But like, for instance, say when you set up clarinet, you're going to set up a second clarinet, and it'll say clarinet 1, and it's going to say clarinet 2. What if you want to have that clarinet 2 be clarinet 2, 3, like a shared staff?
That's something that Dorico does differently than all of them, and that's, to be honest with you, this is the function that got me to switch entirely. Like, this is why I was a Sibelius user primarily before this, and this, you all know, I said this at the beginning. I was a Finale user for about 8 years. I loved Finale. I had a project that didn't work in Finale, and I had to switch to Sibelius in 2011. And then Dorico came out, and I really didn't use it too much. But when they released a video about this feature called condensing, which is exactly what Scott is asking about. To the average user, when you say condensing, you're thinking a condensed score with like 5 lines at to say woodwind or whatever. That's not how Dorico looks at it. Dorico condenses. Here, I'll show you guys what it does to do what Scott was asking. So we're going to go here to, excuse me. We're going to go here to layout options. Now, these 3 different options here are where kind of the heartbeat of Dorico options lie. I can never remember them. So if you can remember these, Control-Shift-N for notation, Control-Shift-L for layout, and Control-Shift-E for engraving options. We're going to go to layout now. And hang on, I got to drag the window over here. My windows are on my second monitor, which is where you all currently are right now. So I have to always remember to drag them over here so you can see them, because I leave them over there for when I'm writing. It's not on my screen as I'm writing. So if we go down here to players and we go here to condensing, you see we have players to exclude from condensing groups, which in this particular thing we don't necessarily need, but custom condensing groups. So if we go to the plus sign down here, we can put clarinet 2 and 3 in a group. And we can put flute 1 and 2 into a group. Okay. Now what we're going to do is hit apply. Notice we have full score selected, which is what we're currently looking at. And then if we go here to apply and then close, let's see. Okay. Now I have to do one more thing. Hang on. I always forget this one more thing. So this goes back to what Katie was asking. My template is set, and I can never remember.
So you don't have to do it.
I don't have to do this. So here, if you go to edit, then you hit condensing. Why doesn't it want to work for me? I haven't done this part in a long time because all my templates are set. I just have to remember how to turn it on. Once it's turned on, oh, here. It was right above. It was right above where I was. So here, enable condensing. And you see now these are on one line. Now there's options to stack them on top of each other. So it would go flute, and then one would be on top.
So if you click on the clarinet 1 on the left there in that panel on the left, you can actually put in just the clarinet. I'm sorry, I meant the 2, clarinet 2. Will you see the clarinet 2 separate from 3, or will it always be
as
like
the parts? Is what you mean?
No, just for like when you're entering the notes as a composer.
Okay, so this is where it gets complicated, and let me explain this a little bit. So here in our right view, notice we're in page view. Notice here I've now gone to write, and I have selected a note. I don't have any notes here in clarinet 2, 3, and I don't have them in flute 1, 2. But I have them in the oboe, and I have it in the clarinet 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason is you can't in write mode in page view do that because Dorico sees them and it's like formulating how to put them together. So what you do is you go here to galley view, and now they're all separate.
Okay.
So now what Dorico will do is, so here, let's put this like this.
So you create your clarinet 2 and clarinet 3 parts separately in that view, in galley view, and then when you go back to page view, Dorico does the work of figuring out the way they should look.
Like that.
Can you go back to gallery view? Gallery,
absolutely.
Is it galley view or gallery?
Galley view.
Galley view. Okay. Can you put your clarinet 2, make some different durations so we see what happens when you will it force the layers?
Yep. It'll do some layer work.
There we go. Okay.
And there's options for that in the different things, and we'll talk about that here in a minute.
That's very, very helpful to know that. Thank you, John.
So this is what converted me from Sibelius and Finale. This is the selling point that sold me 100% on this. Now, you're also going to notice that for some reason, flute 1 and 2, this one is sideways and this is vertical. So the way that we combat this, and I don't honestly know why Dorico does this. If we go here to engrave mode, and we got to click one that isn't the condensed one. Because again, here you can't really edit things that are condensed. You go to engrave. Where is it? Condensing change. Now here you almost have to respell how you want the condensings to work again. So go to condensing approach. You drag your flute 1 here to up stem and flute 2 down to down stem. Same thing. Now you got to click on the clarinet. Clarinet 2 here to up stem and clarinet 3 to down stem. Hit OK. And now notice everything is OK. I can't tell you why it does that.
Yeah.
But I've always had to do that ever since. I remember one of the very first scores I wrote. I credit knowing that to somebody in the forums, which are, to me, I still ask questions in the forums all the time. And someone told me in the forum you had to do that, and I've done it ever since, and it's worked for me.
So that's not a global setting that you can set?
So there are settings about the vertical versus horizontal as well. So if we go here into engrave options, I do believe, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, there are still some things that I, having used this now for 4 years, I still don't know necessarily have memorized if it's an engraving versus layout. Mm-hmm. I often, and I'm sure you guys have that in Finale where you don't remember what's dropped down to find something in. That's the same for me in this program. I can never remember which one of the two I need to go to. But here you'll see in engraving options, there's all sorts of things like you can separate them via comma. You can tell it period after both, period after the first one. You can tell it, let's see, I thought this is the one that did the vertical. Maybe it's under staff labels. And that's another thing. Sometimes now we got to go to staff labels and see, yeah, here they are. This one will now, let's see. The vertical one is right here. So here it's set to stack vertically. This one, you can tell it to go horizontal if that's your preference. This one, you could tell it to do the grouping in the middle. Here, if you see section staff labels, this one puts them both separately. You could, in theory, put it in the middle, which some publishers do, I know. So now if we go here, let me move this out of the way. If we, see, now it's in the middle of them. Let's see, there was a way to get it, even if it's just clarinet, it should go between them. Here, I think this is the one I'm missing. Yeah, it just did it. So now you can see clarinet is between like that versus the other way. That was just all based on this engraving option here. And again, sometimes they do get very confusing. Like I would have thought this would have all been under condensing because this is a condensing thing, but it's under staff labels in this particular situation.
Man.
There are so many options and customizations. That's like I said, to be honest with you, I don't remember some of the things I did. I just have it in the template I use every time. And that's why, like I did it once, I said it, and I don't worry about it ever again.
When will the Pasternak templates pack be available for purchase?
You can have them. You don't have to purchase them. You can have them. Hang on. Let me see.
All right. Then I owe you a dinner at Midwest or something.
Sure. You don't have to give me anything. But here, I'll tell you what. Let me unshare my screen, and I'll just get a template I have ready out instead of making my own here. Give me 1 second to get it up. Let's see. Open. Let's see. Here. Let's do a grade 2 because that way you'll see the condensing feature in a grade 2 template that I made. Mm-hmm. Nothing too advanced, but
did you like my meme that I put up for the?
Oh, I loved it. The finale looking at Dorico because I loved it. It was hilarious. Let's see. Oh yeah, we could use this. Let's not use that one.
By the way, Joseph Hall, who is in on this, I believe, is a former Bethlehem Moravian student, and from the Lehigh Valley. So, if you're listening, Joseph, hi.
Hi, Joseph. All right, I got it ready here. Excellent. Share. So here's a kind of my default template that I've made for my use whenever I use anything or I make anything. Somebody was trying to join or someone had a question. But yeah, someone wants to join. Brian Stromitz.
He student taught with me and is now a band director in his own right.
Excellent.
Well, welcome, Brian.
Well, there he is. He's in now. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Brian, are you a Finale user converting to Dorico?
No, I'm actually I'm a Sibelius user who's just curious about Dorico.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, welcome. But so this is sort of my template that I've made. Again, so you can't write in these condensed ones. You got to go to galley view. So this is, I guess, what a full galley view one looks like. So Scott, to answer your question, so here, if we go here and we write some ridiculous things here in the trumpet part, and then here we'll do. And I know you guys are going to wonder too. I type my things in. I type my letters in. My instrument, my
with the
pitches in.
QWERTY keyboard.
Yeah, QWERTY keyboard. QWERTY, not a piano keyboard. I QWERTY type it in. I do know, and this is from Sibelius, my Sibelius days. I do duration then pitch. There is an option over here on the left that is pitch. Yeah, here it is.
Shortcut K. I learned that one already.
Yeah, shortcut K. That is pitch before duration for all you Finale users. I know that is your preference.
So just to there's a few people who just tuned in. My question was about the workflow, and you're going over like how do you start a project to the end. But I do think my next question would have been, can you go over like node entry and like the equivalent of speedy entry and hyperscribe if that's an equivalent? But keep answering the way you're doing now.
Well, here we'll import. Let's see. Let me see if I can do a quick ode to joy here in the trumpet parts. Let's see. We won't do too far. So here, I need to change things to do my quick ode to joy arrangement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in B flat. But if I wanted to change it, I would hit Shift and then the letter K. Notice that this dialog box has popped up.
Yeah.
It's real simple the way that this works. It's basically you just type the letters that you want. If they're uppercase, they're major. If they're lowercase, they're minor. So if I put
the key
for the key, yeah. So if I put it, let's just say D minor. I just put a lower D, and the key is now entered. If I want to do it again, click that measure again, Shift K. Now I want it back in B flat, B, lower B. We're back in B flat.
And do you prefer working with the transpose score like it appears now, or do you use a C score?
Yeah. I prefer it transposed. That's just how I work best. That's how I was taught. And to be honest with you, I like keeping it that way for myself. So I don't know. I prefer the challenge.
Is it easy to toggle the score to C to concert?
Sure. It's right down here at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
So here, you just right there, and now you're there. And then you can go back to transposed.
Gotcha. Beautiful.
Cool.
Brian had a question.
Yeah.
No searching in the menu for key. Yeah, now you don't have to search in the menu for key. No. You also could, I mean, for those of you who are menu users, if you look over here on the right, here are your key signatures. You can create, obviously, click minor, major. However, this is your sharps down for flats. Excuse me. But you can click them that way. And then if you click it and then just click the first measure, and there it is. So if that's for you menu users, if you like it that way, then it's there for you. So now I want to change the time signature. So let's do Shift M. I now have my menu that has a 3/4. So I'm going to type 4/4. And now I have that. And it automatically adjusts the measures to adjust.
So all these Shift M or Shift, what did you do for key? Shift K?
Yeah, Shift K.
So these are all called popovers, right?
Popovers or I think they're called, they call them charms or something like that, I think is the technical term. I don't remember off the top of my head. But popovers would definitely be the easier way to call it.
Let's say Joy was in the 7/8.
Okay.
Can you determine if it's 2 + 2 + 3 versus?
Great question.
Yes, and I love 7/8. So I very, very, very frequently use this popover. So we would do Shift M for meter. Now it's going to get a little complicated here. not that one. That one. So now it's the bottom or the one without shift bracket.
Okay.
And then you would do, let's say we wanted to do 2 plus 2 plus 3. Close the bracket over 8.
Ah.
And you see it automatically put 7, 8. Now if I click my 8th note here, how am I going to put Ode to Joy in 7, 8? I don't know. But here, so let's just do E, E, E.
Right.
And now I have my...
and you can change that in the next measure if you wanted to, right? Like every measure could have that
Sure.
definition.
So here, so this is what we would do for this one. So we do Shift M again. Let's say we want a 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 plus 2. Close it over 8. Now we're the other way around. So even if let's see, this shows the time signature.
Can you hide that?
Hang on. Yeah.
Oh,
so you come down here to the bottom. Now, this is one thing that Sibelius kind of did that I think that Dorico handles better. Sibelius used to hide this in a menu somewhere, or even the inspector would take up a good chunk of real estate. Everything is down here and will change based on what you need it to be down here in the bottom. Like whatever you click, this inspector will update. So down here, I just click hide time signature. Up here, if you see, I think these are called tags. I can't remember off the top of my head what they're called. Signposts. That's what they're called, signposts. There's a signpost saying that it's now changed the other direction. I can copy and paste this one over here, and it will automatically update because it knows that that's the way the 8th note should be divided based on what we typed up above.
Ah. So why doesn't the 7, 8 show above it in the score?
What do you mean?
Like in the flute part, why don't we see 7, 8?
So in the page view, it does.
Oh, we're in gallery view.
Galley view. So for some galley view, you're not allowed to change the bracketing. The way that, because I'm using the large time signatures, the way Dorico calculates large time signatures is by bracket.
Gotcha.
So if you notice, this bracket is all the woodwinds, so it has a time signature. This one is all our saxophones together. It has a large time signature.
Right.
I know some publishers like to divide high brass versus low brass. Unfortunately, in Dorico, as of right now, if I do that, you're going to have 2 time signatures down here in your brass, like that, because it calculates it by bracket. That is something I have long requested in the forums that I actually have a solution for this, but no one seems to want to hear my solution, and it's nothing that we need to worry about tonight. But there is a solution that hopefully, knock on wood, one day they will implement.
John, quick question.
Yes, sure.
Just a simple one. Can you undo an action by Control U?
Control Z, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, Control D?
Z.
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 Control Z. Yeah.
So I'm hitting Control Z now. As you can see,
Command Z on a Mac.
Yeah, Command Z on a Mac. You see they're gradually disappearing.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to put them back.
Not that I ever need that, but it's...
I thought I made a mistake once, but I was mistaken.
Yeah. I always said I wish life had a Command Z.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
So here to kind of show off now, Scott, you were asking about the other one down here. So if we do, let me grab these. Can you all hear this? Can you all hear the sound in the background? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can't because my headphones are on and they're noise canceling. So here, well, let's give our third trumpets this. And let's give them that, and that. Okay, so now if we go here to page view, this is how we handle the condensing down here. Right. Now there are I do believe it's in notation options. I got to drag it over here. Under condensing, oopsie, wrong button. There are ways that you could do, like, see, I have it set for unison parts to be single stem. You can tell it that you want it to be stemmed separately like this.
So it's going to add the A2 all by itself.
Yes. And unfortunately, as of right now, there is no getting rid of that. You would have to go in engrave options and tell it to hide every single one if you don't want them. And that's just the way Dorico is right now. That is I know that is something they're aware of. I've seen many people in the forums and Facebook complain about that. They would like to have a better option for that. So as of right now, that is not an option to hide them or to not do A2, but A2 is...
So it sounds like Dorico makes a lot more decisions for you, but in most cases, they're actually good decisions and will save you time. It's just
Correct.
really be meticulous about something. In those cases, it's a lot harder to budget.
Well, I guess there are ways. I mean, doing this kind of thing.
Well, you'd want that on a shared staff.
Correct. Well, what I'm saying is, like, if you're doing that, like, you could in theory, if you're doing it like this, this would prevent like the A2 from showing up here. You would, like, I mean, again, it's kind of, you're not getting the full feature of it, but there are ways, like you see these options, there is no A2 because you have the stem doing it the other way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but like here, you can tell it to do, pitch crossing isn't an issue. All these kind of various things. I have all the, I can never say this word. I apologize. Please don't.
Amalgamation.
Yeah, I can never say that. Amalgamation. But you can tell it what you want it to do, like slurs. If you have open, like you only want to show it once instead of on the top and bottom voice. The one thing, so let me do a little bit of this. So here in Galley View, let's add some dynamics. And this to me is hands down better than Finale does it. It's almost as good as the way Sibelius does it. It takes some getting used to, but let me show you. So here, let's click where we want this to start and where we want it to end. Okay. So I want both these measures to have this dynamic of piano to forte. Sorry, piano.
Crescendo
to F.
Yeah, Tyler Grant showed this at his Zoom the other day. This is cool.
So now I have this automatically typed in. Now, I've seen this in some of people who have crossed over. They'll do it on one of them, or they'll do it separately. So if we do P forte to forte, and then you do it separately down here. I'm sorry. Oopsie, I hit P by accident. I apologize. That is one cool feature that Dorico does better than all of them. You can edit while it's playing. Where I know Finale you can't edit while it's playing, and neither can you in Sibelius. But so these are not what we call grouped. Do you see that they're not blue when I click on them?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not grouped. So if I go here to page view, it did do it. You can't guarantee they're going to be one solid dynamic. I actually was expecting it to be both of it, one on top, one on the bottom, because I didn't group them. So what you want to do is you want to select all of them and then right click, go to dynamics, and then click group. Or because now if you see, if I click one of them, nope, didn't do it.
So if we put them in the way you did the first time, where you click the high
they were
part
grouped,
and then click the low note, right?
They were grouped.
Yeah.
So here so this is another thing I love doing. Right click, filter, all dynamics, and now they're gone. I use that one all the time. But so let's say, let's do this, Shift D, P, F. Now they're together. So now if I want to move it, they move together.
Oh. So John, what did that span 2 measures when you first input it? The crescendo.
Because he selected the last note in the group.
I selected the last note in the group.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So here, if I delete all of it again. So one more time. I selected all the way to here.
Oh, I see. Okay. You were so fast with that, I missed it.
It's all good. If I go too fast, just tell me.
No.
So Shift D, P, crescendo, F, and we're all together again. And that's why it went all the way to the end. And also, if you want it to go all the way to the end of the measure, you got to make sure you see now, like the arrow is pointing to the next measure here. Whereas it looks the same, but if I drag it over a little bit, now it's selected to this note. So the difference is now if I add to this measure, it's not going to automatically go there. Or if I go like this, it'll automatically do that. But if I delete it, it'll jump back to the previous measure, if that makes sense.
I'm just deciding that some of this stuff is a little too high end for me right now. My brain can't absorb it.
I understand.
But it does look cool.
I use this all the time. Now, I do want to give you guys this one warning, and I want to show you this. So if I don't select the same range, but even though it's the same dynamic, they're not the same range. Notice one goes above and one goes below. So that is, and then even if you sometimes do fix it so that it goes all the way to the same range, like now I dragged it over. Now it played nice. Not all the time will it play nice like that, though. So you've got to be careful.
So when you have a shared staff part like this trumpet 2-3.
Give me 1 second, Scott. You keep asking your question. I'm going to unpresent for a second, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but is there a way, or maybe this is something we let our engravers worry about, but is there a way to, if they do have different dynamic, I guess even in Finale, if you would have a shared staff like that trumpet 2-3, you wouldn't have, you'd have to go above and below to have it be two different crescendo hairpins.
Yeah, because it wouldn't make sense. One above the, you wouldn't put one above the other on the bottom.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So at some point, I'm hoping you'll zoom in and just show us for note entry, because you've been putting a lot of notes in, and I know you said you're typing the QWERTY keyboard and you're choosing the rhythms over there on the left. But Katie, do you do speedy entry mostly?
I do, and I use the keyboard, but I just use up and down arrows.
Okay. Because I use a MIDI keyboard with speedy entry. That's my primary way. How about you, Carl? What's your primary way of putting in notes?
I just do it manually, pretty fast. It just
so point and click.
Yeah, point and click. Yeah.
So
sounds like we're all different.
One thing that's different here. So now, okay, so I need to not do it the way I did. So if I double click on this rest, you see now I have the caret.
Mm-hmm.
If I hit shift and down, you now see that I have all these stabs selected.
Shift and down.
I can now enter notes on all four of these stabs that are going to be exactly the same. Now, if you actually have a piano or like the actual keyboard piano,
yeah,
you can enter all four voices to these four instruments at one time, as long as they're playing the same rhythms.
Really? So this is like exploding parts, but at the entry level.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you had the keyboard, right now, I don't have mine readily available, but you could, and it would know the top voice is the top instrument and the bottom voice is the bottom instrument.
So if you did like a 4-part hymn, you could play it right in.
You could just play it right in. So here like this.
Different ones, like if you wanted trumpet 1, horn 1, trombone 1.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
There's a possibility you can. It's just also a possibility. I'm not smart enough to figure that out.
Maybe control.
Later. I was just curious, but potentially.
Let's see. Yeah, there's potential.
Could it be control rather than?
I tried control. It didn't do it.
Okay.
Let's see if no, it skipped down at the bottom.
I don't need to break the program. It's okay.
It broke me. I couldn't figure it. I've never done that far. Or what you could do is just enter it and then copy and paste it to the voice you want it.
So could you show with the trumpet 1, 2, and 3, putting all 3 trumpet parts in, just like a triad or something, so we get B flat, D, and F.
You don't get different notes this way again, because I'm not doing it on that kind of.
Oh, you don't have a MIDI keyboard.
So it's going to enter them unison.
I gotcha. So I'd have to have a MIDI keyboard and select. But if I was playing 3 notes at once on a MIDI keyboard, and then type
3 different
6,
notes here,
it would give me a quarter note of those. Okay.
So here again, I'm just knowing my values. Oh man, I never want to hear this. I'm just entering my values. Now, if you want to change, I know Katie mentioned she vertically changes them. If you hit Alt and up and down.
But you're a PC user, right?
Correct. So I don't know. It wouldn't be Command. It would be the other one, I think.
Option.
I thought it went up by like half steps, though.
It does. It can. That is your
setting.
You have to hit Shift with it.
Oh.
And there's your half steps right there. It's Shift and not Command. Option. Shift and Option will get you your half steps.
And then it was Option and Command for whole steps?
No, that's just Alt or Command.
Oh, Alt.
It would be Command or yeah. It's just Alt for me, and that's just your whatever your scale is. It's not necessarily whole steps. It's whatever your it's diatonic. Yeah, diatonic. Diatonic. So then you get your diatonic notes that way. And then so like say you're entering it, you also want your articulations. Back bracket is your accent. I'm sorry, forward bracket is your accent. Back bracket is your staccato. Your quotation mark or your apostrophe is your cap accent. Colon does triplets. I'm trying to remember. You'd have to hover over these. Your pound key is tenutos. Stressed is your so that'd be your shift. I don't remember what kind of bracket that is. It's the back bracket, but it's the shift one, the one above it. And then your staccatissimo is shift with the other bracket. And then you just look at these and you get to your different ones here. Flat is your minus sign up next to your number keys. Sharp is your plus sign next to the number keys. And then the number 0 gives you naturals. So for me, again, I've never really done pitch before duration. I've always done it duration, then I'm sorry. You guys do pitch, then duration, correct?
I do.
I do duration, then pitch. So I don't know what order you would do to put your naturals in. I would think that you would do that before you do the final thing or your accents.
Right. Well, I'm mostly choosing the notes from a MIDI keyboard.
Oh, there you go. So then you would probably, like for your accents and whatever, just type it and then put your MIDI keyboard in.
Right. But I did notice that sometimes Dorico will choose a D flat when I wanted a C sharp, and then I had to use the plus.
So yeah,
to take it.
Here, let's put this in a different key here. Something that gives the trumpets a more accidentals here. So let's put it in D major. So let's say we want this to be D sharp. If I want to spell this E flat for some reason, if I hit Alt, which I'm going to guess is option, and then push the plus key or the minus key, it will give the different chromatic scales of the same.
Right. So that would be the shortcut 9 for the Finale users used to use that for enharmonic flipping. Now it's this option plus or minus to enharmonically flip it.
Yeah. And you get your different enharmonics that way.
You know, you mentioned the colon for putting in a tuplet. Could you show us entering a tuplet?
Sure. So let's. I do remember that from my Finale days that the tuplets were an adventure. So
option and then the tuplet number.
Yeah.
So
let me also tell you this because while we're on the key signature change before I put that in, because we'll do a pickup into something. But a pickups and time signatures, you always put how many beats you want. So here for this, we're going to do 1,4/4. I did it wrong. Hang on. I always do this wrong, and I always have to go over here and show myself how to do it again. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so here it's 4/4, 1, not 1, sorry, I did it backwards is what it was. So and that's how you pick up.
That's cool the way the numbering adjusted to measure 0 as your pickup measure.
Yep, automatically it does that. So here, let's do a triplet here. So I'm going to do this the way that I know how to do it. So I'll put in my quarter note. I'm sorry, my eighth note. Sorry. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the colon or semicolon, I think it is. It says it's 3-2.
But what got that popover? Was that shift?
So that's just no. That's just your semicolon.
Oh, so you selected the note and then typed semicolon. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then so it says 3-2. So what it's saying is there are 3 eighth note triplets to 2 regular eighth notes. So now if I click that, now you see that we have 3 in that spot. So if you wanted to do trying to remember the other one that's so here, let's put it in 6/8. And you'll see it's gonna you'll see it automatically adjust to 6/8. This is a good lesson. So you see here, this isn't the full measure, and this comes from the pickup measure, and the 7/8 is still hiding. So the way we can either do this is, one, we can delete this measure that we don't need, and that'll get rid of that problem. Or in this particular case, because there's a time signature here ahead of it, you just delete it and it will get rid of that for you. And then your measure is reset.
Oh, you clicked on that red
signpost.
Signpost.
Yeah.
You just click on that and hit delete?
Yep.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
how do you change the time signature for the whole piece, or like a large section versus just the measure you're in?
You just select from where to where.
Okay.
And then shift M.
Got it. Thanks.
6/8. Not a problem.
Now, if you set it up that measure 1 was in 7/8, isn't the whole project going to be in 7/8 until you do something else? Okay.
Correct. Right. So here, and then if, let's say measure 14, I want to go to 2/4. Oops. Now we're there.
Yeah.
And now there to the end is in 2/4, and you see it automatically puts the correct amount of measures from where I left off there as well.
Hey, I don't know if this question is helpful to everybody else, but in Finale, when you'd set up something like that, like just say you had 6/8, 6/8, 2/4, 2/4, and then I would copy like those for 4 measures, 6/8, 6, 2 measures of 6/8, 2 measures of 4/4. If I'd copy and paste those 4 measures to the next 4, unless I had already put in the time signatures, it wouldn't copy and paste the times. So will it copy and paste all of the settings?
Yeah,
like
it takes everything from these time signatures. And actually, to be honest with you, you can copy and paste them. Like, see, I can put these two together.
Yeah.
Copy and paste them.
Cool.
Copy and paste them. You can also do my favorite one, and this is a Sibelius one. If you hit R,
repeat.
It repeats it, but it looks like it only does the one. It doesn't do the pattern of them.
Okay.
So it only repeat this one or the last one, which in this case it doesn't need. So R repeat is for everything. It'll automatically repeat it. I was trying to think of something else I wanted to show you guys in this.
Now, one thing I'd like to see is
Sure.
slurs and ties.
Absolutely. So I'm going to tell you guys this. There are a load of engraving options for both. And I'll show them off here in a minute. But there are so many settings you can do. You see here the flat slur versus the regular slur, how thick you want your slurs to be, all sorts of options here. How high you want them to be? Do you want them to be as if they're unbeamed? This is why when Katie asked this, it's crucial when you're doing this that you set up a template for yourself so you don't have to go through this every single time. I've gone through all these and I've set all of them. Like, it literally took me about 4 hours one day to make these templates. Like, when I made them, I planned on not composing that day. No music was written. There was just me setting my rules for that day. And this is what works for me. And these are my settings based on what I like. So again, here in ties, there's all sorts of rules. There's all sorts of things. But what's nice about it is it's going to automatically do it every single time that situation occurs. Like, you don't have to worry. Like, for example, here, when you have ties, am I going to have to go back and set the ties to be between notes versus above the notes every single time? They're locked that way. When you get into notation options, beam groupings are going to be set the way that you want them because you set them that way. So it's just a matter of time and commitment of what works best for you.
I confess that, and maybe it was my own lack of knowledge about Finale, but the ties and slurs are just a pain in the butt. I always had to adjust them to the way I like them.
Here's another thing, and because I hated laissez-faire ties in Finale. I have a shortcut key because it automatically has a setting because I went through and set my laissez-faire.
Mm-hmm.
I set the tilde on the far left of my keyboard to be the laissez-faire. And now it's set there every single time. I don't know if you can see it because it's so tiny. And obviously you wouldn't do that on a trumpet either. But it's set. Now, without setting that key, you actually have to come down here into your inspector and check this little tiny box. So here's a kind of a fun lesson, John. What if there's a key command that I really liked in Finale that I would like to have in Dorico? You can actually go here to Edit Preferences, go to Key Commands, and here is every single key command option in Dorico. So I went to, I think it was Thai. I can't remember how I found it. Here it is. So under Edit, toggle this. And then here you hit press shortcut. Like here you enter this. I'm not going to do it because it'll mess it up. I hit the particular key I wanted.
The tilde key.
Yep, the tilde key. And now it's set. I would hit apply. And now the tilde key is a laissez-faire. It was not originally set for anything. I added that because it makes my life easier. So those are things you can change in those options as well. Sorry, information overload.
No, that is absolutely something. I mean, it's all over the place in percussion parts, with suspended cymbals, let ring, and all that. So that one in particular, I might be having a separate Zoom just to have you help me program it.
So yes, the percussion is another adventure as well. And Scott, I don't know if this is one of the things, creating a percussion kit.
Yep.
So basically what you do is you put all these, so Dorico, and I love the way that Dorico does this. It's kind of revolutionary in the way that it doesn't look at this as like a flute one part. It looks at it as a flute one player. And let's say you want flute one to also be your piccolo player. What you can do is go here to the plus sign, and let's give them a piccolo. So now if we go up here, we notice that there's two. There's a piccolo and a flute one. Well, what's going to happen here is if we go back to page view, they're together because right now it's the person is holding a flute. Okay. So here, let's do this. They're holding a flute for this one solitary note. Okay. Well, down here in measure 24, we want to have them play piccolo. So what's going to happen here in the score is you see flute 2 is now separate. Piccolo 1 is now on a separate line because that's where the piccolo is. But here at the beginning, they're a flute 1 player. So, but on the part, if we go here, it's flute, and then down here, they're a piccolo player. So it's kind of revolutionary that they're together but separate in a way. And I love that setting. I again, these are what sold me on the program.
So in the score, it's not like go back to the score view. Sure. Could you have it stay the flute staff, but just label it piccolo rather than?
So what you can do is if you go back here, is you could, so here for piccolo, you can rename this person. So let's just put him back here at flute. Oh, sorry. I can't remember what the abbreviation that Dorico uses. I think it's FL.
Well, we would want that to be pick, right? Because we still want it to say pick when.
Yeah.
So what it's going to do is it's going to be here, though. It's going to still be separate here like this. But what you can do is you would just change it. So if I click on the word pick, so it would change it to flute or whatever. But you can go here to custom text and you can type in PICC period. And now the label is changed. But unfortunately, Dorico is going to do it this way. It's going to keep them separate like this. Now, I don't know. Let's see if we can condense them. I don't think we're going to be able to condense them, but let's try it.
If you don't care about the playback, could you just label it flute?
Yeah, you could just leave it.
And then when, like, say, often like on a single line flute part, but it's a flute piccolo, maybe it starts out with the piccolo playing, so you'd put plus pick, and then later you put negative, minus pick. But if you don't care if it sounds like a flute, even though then you could just do it as the same part.
Correct. That's another way to do it.
So how would you do that? Because that's something I don't know as to how to add, like
the text.
Just text, but text that is attached to a note.
Sure.
Good question.
So here, good question. Yeah. So here, let's delete this. And let's say we want that to be down here. So we're going to copy and paste it down here. So what you do, there's two different texts, because I saw this actually, Katie, you mentioned this to expand off of what you were saying. There's two different types of text you can enter. There's what's called staff text, and there's what's called system text. So instead of, like, say we want to write here, so for this one, we want a staff text. This one specifically for the staff. We would hit Shift X, and then we would write plus PICC. And then in the score, you see it says plus pick. It's also telling you the first flute's the one that does it, so there's the one label there. Now, let's pretend we want a staff thing. Now, the way in Sibelius we used to do this is we would just recreate another tempo. I think in Finale, you just went and you had to go into a specific expression group.
Expression. Well,
Yeah.
If it was just for a single staff, it was just an expression that was attached to that staff.
Well, I mean for like the systems for everyone to see.
Oh,
So-
yeah, it was a staff list.
So this, what you would do is you'd hit Alt, Shift, and X. This is now going to be like the same staff. It would show it as if it was like the tempo marks, but it isn't the tempo mark. So let's say we want it to be, I don't know. I just had cheese for dinner, so let's put with cheese. Now everybody, see, I don't think it's going to show it like this. Okay, I know what I did wrong. When Dorico updated last, it unchecked one of my options. So here, this is also a good learning thing here. I think it's under players. There's a thing here called player group, or I think it's in this one. Yeah, system objects. That's what I want. And I want it to also show on brass. Okay, so if I hit apply, okay, so now you see with cheese is in the same spot as my.
Okay, so that is like a staff list.
Yeah.
Finale. Okay.
Is everyone's head hurt yet? My
Is
head
that-
hurts.
I just can tell this is going to be a long road, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm here too, and so this isn't like John is not going to be here and able to answer questions for you all in the future. So
You're
please,
on
if you
speed
have,
dial.
please call me if you have any questions. I mean, I'm willing to still talk to you all tonight, but if in the future, like if you forget to ask something, I'm a Facebook message away. So
Can you show us putting in a boxed rehearsal number?
this is super simple, and I know that Finale handled this a little differently. You just click on one of the areas, or you can do it in Galley View and click any of them. But if you're in Page View and you want to add one, just Shift and A.
Shift A.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there it is.
And if say you wanted to move that to a different place, just drag it, and it does it update.
Yeah, it's updating
Wonderful.
as I go.
Shift A. Shift A.
Easier when you know how.
Beautiful.
I know. And the one thing I could never stand in Finale is like, even if you dragged it around, you have to go and tell it you want another one. It always hurt my brain.
So we have about 20 more minutes, and I've asked a lot of questions. I've sort of monopolized the time as per our advertisement that I would be asking you. But we have a lot of very talented composers here that I'm sure, again, Katie, you're welcome to ask other questions, or Carl, or Joseph, or Brian. Any other questions?
My first reaction looking at this is it seems to be what would be the right word? More sophisticated than Finale, perhaps, and like the next level. I could see why people use this. There's going to be a learning curve, obviously, but it's very impressive. This is a complex language, obviously, and
Yeah.
It takes a lot of getting used to. Like, it took me several months to get used to this from Sibelius, even, and I would say Sibelius is definitely a more distant cousin than Finale is, because Dorico was developed by the former Sibelius team, so there's a lot of Sibelius isms in Dorico that like when you realize like, oh, that's how they handle it in Dorico or Sibelius, I understand that's why it clicks for me a little easier. But even then, like there's a lot of things it does differently that take getting used to.
Yeah.
One thing is, I know it's a very common complaint is, let's say you want to enter, let's see, how do I demonstrate this? Let's say we want to enter a half note here, but we want it to be a half note. I'm sorry, not particularly there. Let's say here, we want this to be a half note. Well, you see there, it isn't. So what you have to do is, oh, how do I can't remember.
Right click and.
So you have to untie it. Actually, this is going to be way more complicated than I thought. Because there is no, what you have to do is go into a meter. Hang on. So if we do shift.
Is that because you're in 6/8 that it defaulted to that way?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to go back to 2/4. I actually have to write a half note. I have to go over here to lock duration. You see over here the force duration. I have to click force duration. Okay. I can copy it. Now put it there. And still it won't do it because it's in 6/8. Well, that is actually probably one of my notation options I've done. If you go here to beam grouping, there's a whole bunch of options here that are going to make your head hurt. And I can't remember, maybe it's note grouping. And specifically, yeah, I told it that it's not allowed to cross the, like you see here, split at beat boundaries. These are things that I prefer in my writing. And like here, oh, this one here's, it does let it cross the middle. So those are all things. And sometimes when you set that rule, Dorico will not let you break that rule. And I'm sure that the reason it's doing this is I set a rule and it's saying, you told me to do this. And I don't, and it doesn't want to compromise based on what I told it to do.
Something that's kind of related to that. You were showing us note entry. And I've been fooling around with that in Dorico. I noticed, like in Finale, if you want to put an arrest, you type a note value like 6 or 5, which equals a duration, and then you don't choose a pitch, and then it puts in the rest. But in Dorico, you don't put in rest; you just blow past placeholders, right? Like, can you show us putting in like some notes followed by rests followed by notes?
Sure. So here, let's do it like this.
Can you zoom in really, really, really far? Thank you. I don't know if it's just me and my bifocal age eyes or what.
Scott, it's not. You're
not alone,
you.
John.
All right. It's not just you. You can all judge me. I was doing a film score with like 50 stabs the other day, and I was so tired. This is about where I was zoomed in my writing. I was so far in. Like,
I'm very happy there.
My eyes were burning, and I was just like, I can't. So I was with you, Scott, or I'm with you.
Okay.
I'll zoom out a little bit. So here, we'll enter this. So you see the caret. I just move it over to the next note.
Yeah, so you're not entering those eighth rests. You're just moving the caret past them.
Correct.
And what are you doing to move the caret past the rest?
Moving my arrow keys.
So when I was working, I had one hand on the numbers, like 6 for a quarter note or 5 for an eighth note, and then the other hand on the MIDI keyboard where I was choosing my pitch. Is there a way that, like, close to the numbers, I can avoid having to go number, arrow key, number, arrow key? Is there a shortcut for moving forward that's like space bar, or is there any other way to move forward?
There's your space bar.
Well, so while you're entering notes, you can do that?
Yeah. So here, I mean, it's in note entry mode. So here, let's go back. So here, let's do A. Oh, it moved in a really weird spot because we're so far zoomed in. I can't. It's not actually entering it though.
It's not moving by the grid.
Yeah, it's not moving by the
grid.
The
arrow is the only way to move it forward on the grid.
Right.
It looks like it's moving by the macro beat. So
yeah. Okay. So it's doing it in the twos there.
Because the grid has the little lines and the big lines.
Right. If I had longer thumbs, I could get from the numbers to the arrow, but I was just trying to figure out.
What you could get is where is it? I have a number pad.
Yeah, that's what I use. I use my number pad.
Oh.
And on it, if I hit function, it changes, like it becomes the arrows. So, but I
So
think
you'd
you
have
can
to
also
do
ones that have
number, function arrow, number, function arrow, or
yeah, I mean, there's that. I don't know. I mean, I don't use it obviously. So it's back here.
I love mine.
Well.
Every device I have has to have a number pad, like because of, and that comes from the Sibelius days. Like Sibelius, the way that the numbers used to line up is they used to have a little thing on the bottom right, and everything lined up with the number key or the number pad. Dorico's a little different. I mean, in a way they do, but they don't, and they're different than the Sibelius numbers. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you what a whole note is in Sibelius anymore, but it's an 8 in Dorico. I feel like it's the opposite way around, where the higher values are at the bottom. And
well, this is a non-Finale or Dorico trick, but I'll tell you, back in 1991, when I started Finale, I took a Sharpie and I drew the duration. Like on the 4, I drew an 1/8 note, and on the 5, I drew a quarter note. And even though they're quote unquote permanent markers, in about 3 months, because I was using it so much, it wore off. But by the time it wore off, I had the numbers memorized, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to do once I ditch Finale. I'm going to just start with a Sharpie and write on my keyboard, on my QWERTY keyboard, I'm going to write the new durations and sort of make my own duration map.
There you go. I mean, I mean, I know that they make a keyboard,
Like a skin that you can put over.
Yeah, they make a skin. I know from Mac. I was talking to somebody about it the other day. Does Google Dorico keyboard, and they're out there. To be honest with you, there's things on that keyboard that I didn't even know Dorico did. So if that's something you're interested in, and I think I said this earlier, there are keyboard shortcuts that I don't even know that are there that are very helpful. There's a lot of things that you can just hover over, and it'll tell you, like, 8th note is 5.
Yeah,
Go
that's
in the
nice.
menu. Engraving options is Control-Shift-E. That's all a thing. Oh, you asked earlier. I'm very sorry, Carl. Slurs. So here I just hit S, and those are my slurs. Now, what's really nice is if I copy and paste this, these slurs are linked now. So if I were to put something else here, if I drag this over, it now will do on all 3 parts because they're the same.
And you can right click to unlink them?
Yeah, you can unlink them. So here, let's see. Slurs. No, you don't unlink them that way. I can't remember. You just basically have to delete them and enter them one at a time.
So is the slur and the tie the same character on the left-hand side, or no?
Tie is S, or T. Tie is T. But you see, like, and that's one useful thing is it.
That's the first shortcut that's the same as Finale.
T. But you see what's nice though is if you watch, it automatically updates this to be the correct rhythm, so you don't have to go back and do it. You just hit T, it automatically will update it for you.
So Carl, say he would select the first note in the piece on trumpet 1, and then he would say hold the shift key and select the 5th note.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then hit S for slur. It'll slur, the multiple.
Beautiful.
Now, is there a way to just copy, like, let's say you only did it in the first part, and then later on you're like, oh crap, I was supposed to put in the other ones. Is there a way to only copy the slurs?
Yeah, like a filter.
You could click on it is the simplest way, or you just go here to here, right click, filter. And I love this. Even Sibelius doesn't even do this is good. The filter options right here in the right click, right down here to slurs. Okay. I now have my slur, Control C, and you don't even need to do just one. You can do both of them, and it'll paste it.
Super.
And the other thing I like too is, like, so you saw it in the dynamics, but like if I select all of them, slurs all together. So I just hit S. I was going to show you guys this. I forgot. Cues are life-changing in Dorico. So if I go here to here, this trumpet part and the horn part, Shift U is for cue. I type the Shift U as in unicorn.
Right.
I then type what I want. So let's just do trumpet 1. Enter. And that's there. If I change a note, So let's just click and drag here, this A. Let's put it down to there. You see it automatically updated it. I don't have to worry about changing it. If I put a slur in here, slur is automatically added. If I add an articulation, articulation's automatically added. Everything is automatically updates, like they communicate. And then at the end, there's a play label already added in the next measure.
Can you do that all over again? Like I was writing some notes and I missed when you actually made the cue. So
all good stuff.
But you did it so fast. Let me just watch it one more time.
Sure. So here where I want the cue to start, where I want it to end, Shift U as in unicorn. I start, you don't have to type the whole thing. I type TRU. I hit the down arrow. That gets me to trumpet and B flat 1.
Boom.
Boom.
Mic
All there.
drop. That's cool.
You're going to use that, Scott, I'm sure, a lot.
Yes, I will.
And then let's see here if we just put it in the second one. Trumpet 2. And now that's that. And you can also say you don't want it to be the same.
Everything's cool. That's great.
And if you want it to change the octave, here in the properties down here at the bottom, octave shift, move it down.
Oh, so this is what I was going to ask you about. So there's no way to just like once it's copied, have it be detached and then just transpose it. Like there's some shortcuts in Finale. Like if I wanted to take it down an octave, I hit 8.
So you can just copy and paste it and then make it a cue, and then you could do that. But you're going to lose the option or the feature of it automatically updating.
Right. So you have to open that bottom panel.
Like these notes, I can't touch because, like you see, if I do anything, I'm actually writing new notes over.
Sure.
Like I can't touch them because everything has to be updated from above. But it does let me change the octave. Now I actually ran into a problem with this. I was doing a march and I had a bass clarinet playing, and the tuba and the bass clarinet's octaves kind of didn't really match entirely. So what I had to do is I kind of made my own version where, like, so here I did here to here, end text I had to hide because I didn't want play because it wasn't done yet. I went to the next measure and then typed it again. So let's see, trumpet 2.
Oh, I see.
And let's say I want it in this particular octave, but I want to hide the start text, but I want play to remain. Now, sometimes the play thing doesn't work out because they're not going to play per se the next measure. And if you drag play to when they play next, you'll see it actually makes the interceding rest small. So you may not want to use that particularly. So you may want to hide that. And then you would just Shift X, type play when they're ready to come in again. And then you just write your things where they're meant to be.
All right. Let's say I decide I want to just do the copy and paste to make a cue, but then I want to reduce it to 70%. How can I reduce the note size? So this wouldn't be like a dynamically linked cue like you just showed me. This would be just me making it look but that way I could go note by note and change the octave for that bass clarinet part.
So you Control C, Control V. Down here in the options down here, there's a scale. You just tell it you want it to be Q.
Oh, okay.
And it's the size of a Q for you now. But it's, like I said, it's no longer dynamically linked.
What is there a shortcut for octave transposition like you just did?
Yes. Sorry. Alt. So I'm going to guess it's Command Option down and up.
Just Option down?
It's Command. It's probably Command because on PC it's Control and Alt.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to guess that that's your Command and Option on Mac.
All right, I had a couple of questions.
Sure, go ahead, Katie.
One was you hid things. How did you hide things quickly?
So I hid this trumpet label.
Yeah.
It's down here in the so you know the little inspector down here at the bottom.
That's option 8 to open and close that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I discovered that because I was looking
around. Control 8 and on PC. So I just basically the end text, you hit it, and because it's blank, you can add things like Scott play this. So then at the end, it now says Scott play this over here if you see. So start text, Katie Don't play this. And there it is.
You definitely don't want me playing French horn.
I had to play flute today for the first time in years. It was a disaster.
That's hilarious.
That's what I call it, my wife.
I do have one easy question and one possibly not for right now question.
Sure.
The easy question is, how do you do courtesy accidentals?
Courtesy accidentals, that's kind of
question.
simple. So if we click on it, we can go down here. You see in the options down here, accidental. You can then say show round brackets, square brackets, and then it's there.
That's too many steps. Make it fast.
Now hang on.
Keyboard shortcut for that?
So I can probably make one.
You could probably make a keyboard shortcut for that. I'm trying to think. There is in engraving and layout options, there are a lot of like helpful like after X amount of measures after a key change, it'll do it for you automatically, so you don't have to do it. So here, let's go to.
I love that.
I think option 8. Try that. Try the shortcut option 8. Like select a note and option 8 it. Does that do it?
That's
No.
the bottom thing.
Why do I? So I have. No, that's it. You're right. Never mind. I thought I found it the other day, but
No, that's fine. But you're right. I forgot there was the global settings, so I'll just do that. So
Well, hang on. You can always click natural, but then you're going to need
the
just
bracket.
click round bracket.
So
Let's see. I feel like there is, Katie. I feel like there is an easier way to do this than that. I know for sure. I feel like it's in engraving options. There is a whole thing on accidentals here.
So are you talking about where you tell Dorico, listen, if there's a chromatic alteration within 2 measures, it'll just automatically do it for you?
Correct. Where that option is.
Have you used that, Katie?
not yet, but I'm excited to. Cause
Yeah, it sounds like
I mean that would be great for templates.
Have you set that up, John? Or
I feel like I have, but now I'm looking in accidental. Oh, here, no. Now I feel like I lied to you.
No, I did hear that it exists, so it's fine. We can move on for now. But
nope, it's not.
John,
That's one nice thing. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I'll get you here in a second,
go ahead,
Carl. One nice thing is in all the things, like say you're looking for accidentals, you just right here in the search thing, not there. So then we'll try notation one. This is probably where it is. This actually looks more like it probably should be here. Like here, I've already show cautionary in parentheses. Here's all sorts of options about show them in parentheses. And I have all of them selected. So yeah, and like you see here, notes in the bar following.
There you go.
Signature. So that's all stuff that is here in layout options. So
great.
That's nice.
I just found one I didn't click that I should have clicked.
All right, my more complex question that might not be for today. I do a lot with fingerings, and I found that I can hit F and I can type a 1, for example, but we do a lot of other things that aren't just numbers. I'll do X1 or L2 or -1, and is that possible, or do I just need to maybe just use the Shift X and just add text?
So Dorico has a very limited vocabulary as to what you can enter in that finger thing. And by the way, Katie, I didn't get to say this. I have bought several of your arrangements, and I have learned so much. And Scott, I've also bought some of yours, but for this particular example, I've learned a lot about fingering and shifting and notation of that stuff from you. So,
well, thanks. I mean, I've learned it from others. So.
it's fun that we're talking about this now.
But she does write band music because I'm doing is it Eine Kleine
March music?
I'm doing that with an honor band later this year, and it's a very clever piece. So
I did a whole bunch of your stuff, Katie. I used to teach orchestra. Now I'm doing elementary music, but when I did it, I literally bought so much of your stuff. So last year's Christmas was on me. You're welcome.
Okay.
But to answer your question, Dorico has a very limited vocabulary It's mostly just numbers. I did find a few things that it lets fly. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head.
Can you add to the vocabulary though?
That's what I was looking at, something called music symbols. Like I was Googling it for a while today, but I didn't get very far. Or music.
There are
yeah,
so
music symbols. There it is.
yeah, music
Up a little
symbols.
bit. Yeah.
So you can go. Well, this isn't going to be necessarily what you're after, Katie.
Okay.
These are not fingerings.
But there was a fingerings category in there.
Oh, here, like, see, here's your numbers. I guess if you wanted to, you could always add them. Like these are base fingering 6. There's your annular fingering C, E.
If you do categories, there was a fingering category.
So is this fingering for piano?
For string players.
String players. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Specifically little kids that don't know what fingers put down.
So here are your things. So thumb, T. Here's your parentheses you can use. Q.
And so, but can you edit those? Like,
yeah, you can edit these.
That's what I was trying to play with.
So I'm trying to remember.
Like duplicate it and then edit it.
I actually had to do this. I had to mess with this once because I was trying to make a bracket once, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up, no, I remember. I was trying to, I had to remake a clef because the thing I was trying to do had like single percussion line, like on a flute, but the clef shows above the staff if you do a single one. So you actually have to make a second identical clef and move it down for it to show in the center of the line if you ever do anything that's percussion focused. If you want to be do something single line like that. So if you, I don't know, let's try it.
Like -1 is what I use a lot.
-1. I don't think that did.
And then I clicked add text, and it adds it, but I couldn't get rid of the other thing.
Let's see. Oh, here.
Oh, you were going deep.
Yay!
And there's your -1.
Oh, okay. You saved my day.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And then I think you. No.
Is that star like a favorite?
Hang on. I'm going to do that so I don't accidentally do that for this. Let's see. So let's go to symbols. I feel like you can create new ones. Where music symbols.
That would be smart.
Where you would create.
Like
oh no. No. You can't create new ones. And that's why, because I had to create a clef, and the clef I had to actually, I couldn't make a new clef. This guitar tab is the one I just basically made a treble clef, but lower. Because you couldn't create new clefs. You had to edit pre-existing ones and just hope you didn't need that. And I didn't need the guitar tab for that particular one. So that's why I did it. So Katie, if you're going to go that option, you're actually going to be erasing the ones that are here if you don't need them.
Okay. Luckily there's a lot, so I might be able to get by.
Yeah, you would be erasing.
Now, another thing I would do is sometimes I would have stuff below, like first position or something. And so when we were doing text before, it was always going above. Is there a way to set certain things to be below automatically?
So here, let's try. Let's see. Engraving options. Let's see. Fingerings. So here's kind of the fingering options. So you can change it from this kind of.
Well, it's just only certain things. So like, let me just even going back to text.
Oh, like the shift X text.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess because if you see here specifically, there are there specifically for the fingering things. If you can see, there's actually here in these presets there are fingerings underneath. But to switch them, so let's hear. Let's just put 1, 2, and if you go here, let's see. There is a way to put it underneath.
But even sort of more global than fingering, any text that you say.
Yeah, you can put it underneath.
Yeah, like if you do the Shift X and then it appears above, and then you want to move it below.
Here. So for these particular ones, staff relative below.
Hmm.
Now, if you do your text, Shift X, let's just put 1, 2 here. Let's pretend. And I wasn't even paying attention. That is the real fingering. I wasn't even paying attention. I was just typing random numbers. You just tip below, and it's there now.
Oh, okay.
Now, Scott, to answer your question, no, you cannot just drag it.
Mm-hmm.
You can drag it left to right, but you cannot drag it up and down.
Okay.
You can in engrave mode drag it up and down. But you see, here I am in the French horn, and it's actually moving both.
Because the cue is connected dynamically. Connected there.
Okay, in Finale, I could click Option and drag, and it would lock. If I was like dragging horizontally, it would keep it in that horizontal plane. Like if I just want to move it over a little bit, type of thing. Is there a way to like not have it end up going vertically when you're dragging in the engraving?
Let's see.
Or how about Shift?
I just see. Okay, yeah, there you go. Shift.
Shift worked. Okay.
Yeah, Shift. But you have to start clicking, and you have to start clicking
the
before
direction.
you do that. Yeah. Well, it looks like it keeps it pretty close. Like here, if I'm staying relative, it'll stay relative. But if I drag it way far down, it'll let me. Okay. But if I stay relative to where I was, it will stay in the line. You taught me something new today, Katie, about Dorico and Finale. I learned something new.
We're over time, but that's okay. But
Scott,
I was just
if you
wondering.
Gotta go, I can stay with.
No, I'm good. I was just wondering my last question. But we don't have to answer it unless it's something other people are interested in. Like I wouldn't mind seeing you demonstrate like a DC Alcoda or a DS Alcoda or something like that, like putting in something where that you make the score jump back to somewhere and then jump to a coda.
Sure. So I'm going to be honest with you. I think I know how to do this. I've never done it before. So it'll be an adventure for all of us. And we'll figure it out. So here there's all sorts of options we can do here. There's your repeat things. One thing, so to not do this, if I select these measures and I select the first ending, you see that it automatically gives me my repeat and my first ending.
Nice.
And then if I go here and I click the bar line, then I automatically have my repeat. I know that wasn't what you asked, Scott.
No, but that's good too.
Yeah, I figured I'd show you that. Like, so that like literally wherever you start to where you're finished is going to be your first ending. It gives you the repeat sign and your bracket automatically. There's a way to type that in. I couldn't honestly tell you.
I think Shift B.
Shift R gives you the repeat option.
I actually found out with Shift B, if you type in colon and that straight line bracket, it's the shift.
Oh, that bar line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
So you have to select. I think I selected a bar line, like an end bar of a measure or something, and then did the colon bracket, colon straight. It actually turned it into a repeat sign for me.
I'm sure there is and just like the other one, if you do the Shift R, there's something you can type here. I've never done it, but it's there. Like something in Dorico that is helpful to learn is everything has a shortcut that you can type with one of those popovers.
Yeah, and
this is what I was telling you guys earlier. There's so many of them, and I've been using it for 5 years. I couldn't tell you all of them. So, the other, and that's Scott, and then I promise you I'll do your coda.
It's okay.
Playing techniques. Shift P. So, Katie, you'll use this. Here's your up and down bow. So if we do up bow, and then it may not show because this is a trumpet part.
How about that?
There it is. Shift P, and we do fermata. No, it's not going to consider that. But for Scott, mute.
And it'll change the sound, the playback.
Yeah, muted.
That's crazy.
Let's see. I feel like there it is. Harmon mute, stem in. There it is. And now that's that. And then when you go over here, you can go to Shift P, open. Let's see. You get make sure you get that, and then it gave me the symbol versus the open. Nope, it keeps giving me the symbol. I just want text. You'll have to figure out which one it is, but one of them is going to do it.
Sends a sordid.
There you go. Or you can come over here, which is what I usually do sometimes. Brass, click open. Ta-da! Opens there. So that's what I usually do. Okay, Scott, I promise you I'm going to do your thing now.
Okay.
So here, we'll click. Let's see. I'm trying to think how I can lay this out that's going to make sense. So here. Let's put an end bar line here. There. Let's do here. So this is our fine. We want it to go there. And let's see. See, put no, sorry, that's the wrong one. DSL fine. I know.
So like after that double bar, put the DS Alfine.
There we go. Sorry. I just taught this the other day.
And then drop a sign somewhere in around measure 8 or something, or 10.
We did DC, so it probably wouldn't do that.
Oh, okay.
So here, we could do DS Alfine. Sorry, my brain is fried. DS.
You think your brain is
sign just the word Senyo?
So yeah, so here. And I put the sign automatically. I think they just do that so you don't have just that sign there. Remind me to tell you about rhythm slashes and repeat bars. Remind me. That will also remind me.
All right, so all this will perform when it gets to the end. It'll jump back to the Senyo, and then it'll go up to the fine and stop.
I'll tell you what. We're going to find out.
We're going to premiere a new piece called... It's John's latest opus, Amalgamation.
Please never tell anyone I wrote this.
It's a minimalist piece.
Let's see. Very John Cage. All right, let's find out. I can't hear it, and I don't want to hear it. So please just lie to me. Lie to me and tell me that it's the most amazing thing you've ever heard. I can only imagine what you guys are listening to.
It's got a very Philip Glass vibe to it.
Yeah, I like it. I might riff off of it.
It's yours, Katie. It's all yours. All right, let's see what happens here. So we're getting to the end. So here, let's actually go to page view and look at it. So look how nice and clean that looks.
Yeah.
So here it goes. It should go back. There it goes. Back to the sign. It went.
Sweet.
And let's see if it stops at the fine. It may not. I may have dragged this to the wrong spot, so it may go a little bit after. Let's see. No, it's not.
Nice. Perfect. Nice job.
Nice.
There we go. Yeah.
And it would have jumped to a coda and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Okay. It would do all of it. It'll handle all of it.
John, 15-second question, if I could.
Real quick, while I'm in this option, I'm going to talk to you about rhythm slashes and bar repeats. And then, Carl, you have my undivided attention.
Okay.
I'm going to actually head out. Thank you so much.
Katie, if you have any questions, Facebook message.
I will. All right, thanks.
Right.
So, here, rhythm slashes. We just go to create slash rhythms automatically. And those are all automatically. And if you see, I just drag them.
Okay.
And automatically it'll count them for me with those numbers. And you can tell it how often you want those numbers to appear.
So where was that rhythm slashes? That's in the right panel down the bottom, right?
Sure. Yeah, okay. Right here in the so this is under the repeat category.
Is there a name for that panel on the right and the panel on the left? Is there a formal name for it?
Panels.
Okay.
Right panel, left panel. I would say that this is probably your notes panel, and this is probably your everything else panel. Because this is specifically things about notes, and this is like everything else.
Okay.
But here, then, real quick, to do your bar repeats. So let's say we want to repeat. Oh, here we could have just done this instead of what I did here with my Philip Glass piece. Erase all this, and let's just go here to the end, and let's do create bar repeat option, and then look, it's just all there. I think it won't do it because of this Fine is in the way, but yeah, it won't.
Will it actually play the music before it as a repeat? Okay.
Is it playing it? I can't hear.
If you had not deleted all those notes, but just had selected them all and then chose the bar repeat, would it still turn it into the bar repeat?
Yes, but it'll show it at the same time.
So really?
Yeah, so here to show you, we leave it there. And we just do. Oh, I see the reason it couldn't repeat it is because there was a meter change there. So it wouldn't do it because of that. So here now, if we do it, yeah, see it's there and it's on top of it.
Gotcha.
Carl, your question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. When you were working on the flute and piccolo part before, when you extracted the part, all the multi-measure rests were there. Is that automatic in this system?
Yeah. So here,
cool.
Well, here's the trumpet part. And as you look how nice. As you all know, I changed nothing. Look
Spacing
how nice
is perfect.
Look how nice and so engraving is a whole nother level in this. There's all done. No need to tell it to create them. All they're broken for the signs and everything. Engraving is a whole nother level in this program. So if we go to engrave, we can tell it. So here we can move things just like in Finale or Sibelius. I just move that down. Say I want this to be its own line. Here, let's say I want this to be its own line. There's a shortcut for this move to next system. I couldn't tell you what that shortcut is.
Wait. It's a period, I think.
Well,
or period or comma. Maybe it's comma.
There you go. It's period.
Period. And
shortcut and comma is back. And it automatically moved it down to the next line for me. And it's, it does that up for you. To me, this engraving is just unmatched.
So is it pretty good at spacing an entire part? Like if you have a part that's over 3 pages, I've always got to go into Finale and fix the spacing because some lines are too crowded. And but it looks like this does a nice job.
Yeah, I think it does a nice job. I mean, it does better than, to me, in my years of the 3, Finale was the least nice at part creation. Sibelius was slightly better, and Dorico, while not perfect, is miles ahead.
Yeah, wonderful.
Again, not perfect. There are things you're going to need to clean.
Yeah,
but I think that there is significantly less things you're going to need to clean.
It's a whole lot better than vellum and ink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although that was a very aesthetic process. It was like calligraphy, and I'm really glad.
Absolutely.
I'm really glad I had to do that at one point in my life. But now this is way blowing out extracting parts and all so much.
Yep.
So here, let me show you guys this, and this is what, again, another thing that really sold it to me. Let's make this a multi-movement work. Now, let's say, for laziness sake, I'm going to just duplicate this flow, and now you see the same thing as underneath. It's not duplicating it in the sense that, it's still 2 separate files. So let's say I change this to be up a third. If we now go back to that trumpet part, you see they're different. They're not duplicated so much.
Yeah, the idea of flows being movements is something I got to get used to, but it is convenient. So most pieces, like say for young band, are going to just have a single flow.
Yeah, young band, you're not, unless you're doing. I know Brian Balmages does a few.
Yeah, and Randall did one like that too.
Randall,
that has but yeah, by and large, if it's a single piece that doesn't have movements, it'll just be a single flow.
Yeah. So here, if we go here to the default flow headings, this is where you can change how you want those movements titles to be. So flow headings are different than regular headings. So here, let's see. I always do this because I don't memorize how these work. So flow title, I always right click to get them. Let's say we want a dash. Hang on, I should do this differently. Hang on. So it'd be flow number. I'm sorry. Flow number. And again, you get your different types of flow numbers down here. And then let's see, let's do a period. And then let's do flow title if you have one. Let's go to apply. You want to make this as small as possible because this is going to take up space on your page. And again, however this appears is how it's going to appear above your text. So center, apply, close. Now these are called flow 1 and flow 2, but you see now like you have your movement titles above and below are there, where then you can give your whole piece a whole different title as well. Now, if you were doing, say, Scott and I did a collaborative thing, and I wrote the first movement and Scott wrote the second movement, you in project info,
you could add a composer for each flow.
Yeah, so here's your information. So here, let's say Scott did the second one. And let's say I did the first one. Now, notice that it's not showing because this is my project composer up here. So what you have to do is go back here to this particular flow thing, because this is basically what's going to show between each movement. You can either add this to the current text, or if you want it to look a little different, put it here. Flow composer. Now, some of these things have defaults that you set in your text options. So if you go here, I can click composer. You see it automatically drags it to the right or justifies it to the right. So if you remember this, this will actually help you out to set this to whatever these categories are. Let's see, let's drag this up so it's nice and in line like that. Hit apply, close, and now you see our names appear next to our respective things.
Cool.
I'm going to shelf that one because it'll just confuse me for now. But
it took, I'll be honest with you, when I started and the whole concept of flows made my brain melt. It took until I really got into like writing those film scores and doing multi-movement works, or even writing books like this, that I finally understood what a flow is in comparison to just writing music.
Well, this has been super helpful.
Yeah,
do you have
John,
other questions,
so much.
Carl?
No. This has been really great. I've got to buy the program, obviously, and dive in.
Carl, since you're in my neck of the woods, you know, Rick Hilborn is using Dorico. He started along with me, and I think Mark Figueroa at Parkland High School, he's going to be. So there's enough Lehigh Valley Dorico users. We could get our own little breakfast group and maybe once a month meet and share or something.
We could call ourselves Dorico Dorks or something.
Yeah, there you go.
And if you want, I'll zoom in with you at your breakfast.
All right.
Well, for everyone watching later,
we're
signing off.
Thanks for joining us. Yep.